Hello, everyone, and welcome to the sixth ever Flutter Brigade Roundtable. I am your host, F-Shy89, and with me, as always, is Mond.
Hey ho, everybody!
And Ed, who stinks.
Good evening, everybody, and that is not true. That's a lie.
No, you know you stink. Alright, so today's topic is going to be Brony Gaming. But before we get into that, we are going to do a breakdown of the newest episode, which of course is testing 1, 2, 3. So guys, what do you think about that episode?
I'll let Ed go first.
Testing 1, 2, 3 was the third and final episode written by Amy Keating Rogers for season 4, and she has been hitting it out of the park throughout this season. We've always known that Amy is one of the strongest writers on the MLP writing staff since the beginning, but she really reminded us of that very well when she returned in season 4 after being absent last season. She wrote Pinky Pride, Philly Vanilli, and now the latest episode, Testing 1, 2, 3, and they've all been great episodes. In regards to the most recent episode, just having Rainbow Dash and Twilight together, in most of the spotlight, it gets instant points from me, number one, because they're both my top 2 favorite ponies. Obviously, Twilight's one, and Rainbow Dash is my second favorite. And then just having that whole interaction with her needing to, study for the Wonderbolt's history exam, and then having to be tutored by Twilight. You've got serious and studious Twilight Sparkle trying to give a very straightforward lesson on the history of the Wonderbolts, and Rainbow Dash being her trademark kind of immature, silly self, being bored with the teaching methods that Twilight had, and Rainbow's just like moving around back and down, side of the chair, side to side, and then you get Spike and Aloysius joining in, and all those humorous scenes between the two of them. And then, of course, Twilight's methods don't work, right? So then they start getting to the point where they're actually to the point of fighting with each other over this and arguing. And Fluttershy steps in and surprisingly offers her own way of trying to teach Rainbow Dash to remember her history, to study for this exam. And it was a very not so good method that she had. I mean, half the time Rainbow didn't really understand what the hell was going on, and my reaction to that scene was basically exactly as Rainbow Dash's. Like, wait, what? What was that? I don't know. But whatever it was, it had something to do with animals and in costumes and trying to reenact history and doing so very badly. And then, of course, we had, after that, having Pinkie Pie come up out of nowhere, just being herself, and then just doing, rapping. And then we get complete with this whole change in the aspect ratio to 4:3 with grainy visuals, it looked completely like it would have been something from the 90s, which was a great tribute to late 80s, early 90s rap and pop culture and music videos. And that whole scene with Pinky rapping was brilliant. It was cool and it was cute at the same time, and it was just fun to watch. And I really applaud the writers for putting that scene in there, because that was something that only Pinky could do convincingly. And that scene, it's become infamous now. It's going to be one of those classic scenes that we're always going to remember from the show. And then, of course, Rarity with her trademark, look at the outfits that all the previous Wonderbolts from the previous generations wore, and giving a tour of all of that. And, I love it, when Applejack comes along, because Applejack's like, Rainbow's like, okay, Applejack, what's your method of learning stuff? It's like, well, I what I do when I learn how to, buck apples on the farm and do farming and all that, I learned through, from growing up. It was something I learned for over years and years of time and dedicating myself to it. And she's like, well, how much time do you have? You got plenty of years to work with that to learn something. And of course, Rainbow's like, no, I gotta learn it by tomorrow. And she's like, well, you're up a creek there, it's like, good luck with that. So, and all of that at the end, and then when Rainbow was just feeling completely like she was stupid, like she couldn't learn anything, and she was really feeling down about it, and then Twilight tries to give her that pep talk and everything. I could really relate to Rainbow on how she felt in that scene, because I've been there before. There have been times, especially with a more advanced mathematics, where I just couldn't learn anything or figure it out, and I used to think, well, geez, what's wrong with me? Why can't I learn this? Am I stupid or what? Or is it just I'm not learning the right way? What's the problem? And then eventually it was just a matter of her finding out how she learned. And through sheer chance, Twilight observed that Rainbow learned through multitasking and indirect observation. So she formulated this plan where all of Ponyville and the rest of the main states were to help her while they were flying together in the sky together, Twilight and Rainbow, they would hold signs in the bottom on the ground and like just yell words of encouragement and hold out giant flashcards and all that. And Rainbow picked it up without realizing it through her multitasking and indirect observation. And then she was able to learn all the facts that she needed to learn, despite not even realizing she was learning, and that was the great, brilliant part about that. And in the end, when she realizes, it's like, well, how in the world did I learn that? And Twilight's like, well, you knew what you could learn all along. It's just a matter of how you learned that. And everybody learns differently because we're all individuals. And I thought that was a very important lesson that to bring up in the show, the one that wasn't really quite covered before. And I think they did a brilliant job of illustrating that point. It was a very important point to cover there. And I really enjoyed how they portrayed that whole issue. And of course, in the end, we find out Rainbow does get accepted into the Wonderbolt's reserves, which is basically obviously the kind of second in command or second in line, kind of like backup in case one of the main Wonderbolts is out for whatever reason. So she's one big step closer to achieving her dream of being a Wonderbolt. So we're getting great character growth here, great story progression and continuity. And it was just a great episode. I mean, all the interactions in the main six and the different ways they had of trying to teach Rainbow, and a lot of humorous scenes, and the heartwarming scene at the end where they all help her out that way. And just Pinkie Pie's rapping. That's a scene stealer right there. It's just the whole episode was really well done. I really applaud Amy for what she's done. She's an amazing writer. And she's really been, everything she has touched has turned to gold this season. She's done an amazing job, and we're very fortunate to have her on the team and on the show. So I give Testing 1.3 a 9.3 out of 10. It is definitely one of the top 5 episodes of the season and one of my new favorites.
Really? Well, I can see where you're coming from. As for me, I give the episode a 7. It was an alright episode. It was by no means like a bad episode, but it was nothing like super spectacular that it deserves any higher than a 7. And I'll get into that in a minute. Bond, your thoughts?
I thought the episode was about, I rated it about the same as Ed. I think what really sold it for me was that none of the interactions seemed stilted like we've had in a few of the previous episodes. I mean, like when I look back, just I think 4 episodes back to Some Pony to Watch Over Me, I look at that episode and I think, wow, that was really stilted. Like they twisted, Scott Sunborn really twisted AJ's character to fit the plot and sort of to fit everything else that was going on in that episode. And really, when I look at this episode, I thought it didn't seem like she was trying to set up much of anything, or Amy Keating Rogers didn't seem like she was trying to set up much of anything, and it seemed like the plot progressed naturally rather than, there being weird character changes that sort of made the plot progress, which was the case for Some Pony to Watch Over Me. But I thought that it was interesting that they brought in this whole idea of multiple intelligences, because that's something that I've known about from, I'm not a psychology major. I don't have a degree in psychology or anything, but from having taken classes on it, I know that that's one of the more recent, I guess, credited theories nowadays when you're looking at children and sort of even adults, when you're trying to figure out what their talents might be, how they learn exactly. And, I put that point in my, Alicorn Radio review. And I think that it was nice that was brought in, because we don't see a lot of that kind of stuff sort of brought into the show. I mean, in Leap of Faith, we sort of saw the whole thing of the placebo effect, but even then, it was sort of weirdly executed, and it was executed in a way that was predictable. But I thought that having that the multiple intelligences thing in this episode was nice, because I mean it goes to show you that I was gonna say, Ed, you said that like Rainbow Dash was sort of immature and stuff. I almost disagree with that because like she didn't see. I don't think she was being immature. I think she was just being, I don't know, kind of herself. But like she was bored. Like so, I don't know what else she was gonna do. She's a very energetic character. So I think the fact that she sort of went along with like that, almost falling over in her chair and sort of made it into like this whole thing was her way of coping with the boredom. Because like even Twilight realized it later on that she should have realized that Rainbow Dash doesn't learn the same way as she does. I mean, Twilight learns in a very sort of traditional way, the sort of rote sort of way you get taught in school, but like we got to see that every one of the ponies learns in this uniquely different way. I mean, the only problem I had was with Applejacks because like they literally just limited her knowledge to apples, and that kind of made me mad because it's like we've seen enough of character limitations with her character already in this season. That was just like even one of the better writers just throwing it away and being like, no, we're just not going to bother with Applejack or something like that. But I mean, that didn't really distract me too much. I gave the episode a 9 out of 5 or 9 out of 5. Wow, a 9 out of 10 in the end. So it got a pretty good grade for me. It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty damn good.
9 out of 5. That's the best rating ever.
It's better than perfect.
It's better than perfect. Your math is so very, very broken. Yeah, well, I give it a 7. And like I said, it's not because it was an overly bad episode. I mean, there was a lot that was good about it, but there was equally as much that I just wasn't into. Mostly, like, the thing that bothered me the most was Twilight not realizing at first that, like, not everyone's a friggin' bookwormy nerd who learns like that. And she just kept going on and on and on. It's like, holy fuck, we get it. You're a nerd. This is how you learn. That's fine. Rainbow Dash isn't like that, though, so quit trying to push your crap on her. I understand you're trying to help her, but at the same time, it's just, like, enough. But the rest of the episode actually was pretty good. I'm not a huge fan of the Pinky rap. That's one thing I will say, like, right now. Like, it's not that I'm not a rap fan or anything. It's just, to me, it seemed forced and out of place. So, that's just how I see it. I mean, I know not everyone's going to see it the same as me, but that's just how I see it. It felt really forced and out of place. More or less just to give Pinky a spot in the episode so she can help her friend. Much like they did Applejack, where they just kind of put her there just for the sake of being there, because she didn't really do much to help Rainbow out. So, and then again, Rarity didn't do much either, other than the fashion side of whatever. But again, their uniforms isn't exactly an important part of the history as much as the people that were wearing the uniforms, like Colonel Sanders' son or whatever the hell it was.
Colonel Sanders was a wonderful.
Yeah, he was now because I said so.
Kentucky Fried Schooler. There we go.
Anyway. Oh God!
But the interesting thing that I thought was really cool was actually how Rainbow Dash actually learns. Like, that is really unique, being able to multitask like while flying like that, and the way she picked up like all that knowledge without even knowing it. That's a pretty damn like unique way of learning, I'd say. I mean, I wish I could do that in real life, but unfortunately, well, I can't fly, and if I could, well, I'd probably be up there now. And second of all, I get very bored quick when I'm trying to learn things, much like Rainbow Dash yourself. So, but anyways, that's enough about that episode. So let's get into our main subject here, which is Brony gaming, and I'm gonna start off with a game that me and Ed know all too well. It's not necessarily a pony game per se, but it does have a lot of pony mods and carts and pony-based tracks, and that game is Mod Nation Racers. Ed, do you want to start it off?
Yes. Mod Nation Racers is a very important game to start off with for this topic for multiple reasons. I mean, one, not only was it like the platform where me and Flutters first met and my whole journey as a brony and the whole Ponyverse began, but beyond that, it's just a really fun game. Like, if you love kart racing games or racing games in general, like, think Mario Kart and combine it with Crash Team Racing and combine that with like Little Big Planet, and you essentially have Mod Nation Racers. It's a completely customizable racing game where you can design your own karts and your own drivers, or as they call them, mods, from scratch. Hell, you can even design your own racetracks from scratch if you have the patience and time to do it. It takes practice, though. That's one side I never bothered with, was making my own tracks, but everything else I did. And it's a really addictive, fun game to play because you can. There's the multiplayer, online multiplayer. There's so much stuff you can do, and just especially if you've got friends who have the game, it's really fun to race online, and you can literally find any character or any either based on a cartoon or anime or movie or even real life people in this game. So if you could actually be in a race and be racing as a pony, let's say you're racing as Rainbow Dash, and then your opponents could be anybody from Nightmare Moon to like Bruce Willis to freaking Obama or whoever. I mean, it's anybody. Anybody can be made in this game. It's only your limits. Your only limit is your imagination. But it's especially good for creating pony mods because you can make. I mean, they have made. There's so many people. The Brony community on this game has been very active, or at least it was one because I haven't played it in a while. But back in the day, 1 or 2 years ago, there was a lot of Bronies on there, and they made every character a mod. The main six, the CMC, Spike, Celestia, Luna, all the minor characters, villains, they were all there. And it's really a great game to be able to, this is as close to an official pony kart game as we're ever going to get, probably. And for one reason, I don't know what legal loophole, they're able to create these characters through mods without any problems or any attempts at cease and desist from Hasbro or anybody else. I guess because they're not exactly, they don't look exactly like the characters they portray. They're close, but not way too close. I don't know how that works legally, but gratefully and fortunately, that's not an issue, and people have been able to make these mods without any problems. But it's a great game to play. If you have a PS3, it's a PS exclusive. It's been out since 2010, so it's really cheap. You can buy it for $20. You don't even have to buy it in store. You can download Mod Nation Racers on PSN. But again, it's only available on PS3. There is another version on the the PS Vita, but that's another game. It's not as good as the console version. So if you still have a PS3, go out and buy Mod Nation and download the hundreds of pony mods that are already there. Or if you're feeling adventurous, make your own pony mod if you see a character that hasn't been made. I don't think Coco Pamel's been made and other people, but other characters, but I haven't been there in a while, so don't quote me on that. But it's a great game to play if you want to race ponies, and it's a ton of fun. Flutters and I used to race it all the time on there, and I mean, we would play for weeks and months on end without stop. It was just that addictive. So it's a great game to play. If you got a PS3, go buy Mod Nation Racers. You can get it for $20 online or a physical copy, and you're gonna have a lot of fun racing with ponies and other characters.
Yeah, like Mod Nation Racers is definitely one of the best kart racing games I've ever played. I'm not going to say too much on the subject because I made a video about it like way back in the early days of me being a brony. So if you want to know more about what I have to say about Mod Nation Racers, I'll direct you to that video on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link below when this gets to YouTube. But essentially, if it wasn't for Mod Nation Racers, the Flutter Brigade as we know it wouldn't even exist right now because that's where we got our start. Yeah. I know, right? We started off as nothing more as a gaming clan, and look at where we are today. Mon, do you have anything to say, even though you don't really have the game?
Yeah, I don't have the game, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. Honestly, I've never really liked kart racers, but this sounds like it would have been interesting to have played back in those days, and I knew you two back when you were playing it. That's the funny part. And I had access to a PS3. Unfortunately, it was my brother. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, of course you knew us. Like, we had that other group that we were part of. Well, but that's another story. But anyways, moving away from that, another game I want to talk about, and it's sad, kind of, because this game was the most hyped game, probably the most hyped game of all the fandom, and that is Fighting is Magic. But unfortunately, it got C and D'd. But that didn't kill the game, though. Thankfully, the Brony community, as creative and as smart as you guys all are, have taken what was the leaked version and they've made so many mods to the game that Fighting is Magic still lives, even though it's not the original creation of the main six anymore, but the game still lives. It's still very, very fun. It's got online play. It's very much playable, and I have to say it's probably one of the best fighting games I've ever played, next to Mortal Kombat, of course. You guys got anything to say about Fighting is Magic?
I think it was, yeah, like you said, I think it was sad that it got C&D'd. I never played it, but I've seen, I think I watched a demo of it being played back when it was actually before it got C&D'd. And, like, it looked interesting. It looked like it was actually going to be nice, and, like, there were a few bugs that they had to work out, but, like, it looked like everything was going good, and then Hasbro took the axe to it, and yeah. But I don't know, I was glad that even though it's not, you know, like, even though, like, the official project that it's supposed to be isn't going to be pony related anymore, the one that, you know, how, you know, Lauren Faust sort of picked up the project, you know, and made it into something different, you know, and helped the main six make it something different. I thought that was at least nice. And I mean, it's like, I know this is going off on a tangent, but it's like sort of the same thing with how Jan Animation's stuff is sort of coming back slowly. Yeah. Like, it's nice to see that, like, you know, there are some people, like some of the creators, like the creators of the show and everything, and some of the people in charge of the show actually appreciate the fan content, whereas, like, you know,
yeah,
the legal part of Hasbro doesn't exactly appreciate it fully.
Well, the problem is like we discussed in the episode where we covered C&D orders, they don't really communicate. Yeah. They just have a piece of paper that says the gist of what they're supposed to do, so they just go after anything that they feel infringes the copyright, and that's where a lot of the problem is. There needs to be more communication between the idiots they hire to do this stuff and Hasbro themselves. But Ed, do you have any thoughts on Fighting is Magic?
Well, I didn't play it as much or as long as you did at Flutter's, but I did have a brief period of time where I downloaded it and we played a couple times. And yeah, you kicked my ass most of the time, but then you're good at those kind of games. But there were a couple times where I came back and surprised you and had pretty good matches myself. But I played the version before. I think it was either slightly before or not long after it was C&D'd by Hasbro. So I never played. I have not yet played the tribute version or the modified version now. But at the time, there was only 4 of the main 6 playable. But from what I did play, even in that version, it was pretty fun, and I could see how this game had a lot of potential, and it was just addictive and fun to play. And you know, at some point, I'm going to have to get my hands on the current modified version and try that one, because I have a feeling I'll enjoy that as well. But I liked the creative moves that they gave to each of the characters. They were different, but at the same time, it felt like attacks that they could actually have that fit their characters. It didn't seem out of universe or anything like that. And I liked the graphic style, and just the game had really good music, which is no surprise because it's from the Brony fandom. I expect that, you know. And it had great, really nice, you know, 2D graphics, great music, you know, cool little combos and attacks you could pull off. And you know, I have yet to see the current roster, but I think it's probably doubled since last time I played it. But I'll definitely have to get my hands on the current version of it and give it another whirl. But for the little time that I did have to play with it, I enjoyed it quite a bit. So it's definitely solid Brony games out there.
Yeah. As for like, well, there's, like I said once before, there are so many different variations of the game. It depends on which one you have. I have two versions myself. One has just the main 6 playable, fully functional, which is awesome. And then I have another one that has the main 6 playable, fully functional again, but it also has Sweetie Bot at it. Oh my god. Everyone said that Pinkie Pie was way overpowered. Whew. Anyone who's played the Sweetie Bot version knows that Sweetie Bot's the most overpowered friggin' character ever created. It's awesome. But for anyone who's lucky enough to actually be listening on YouTube or Alicorn Radio, I will later on provide a download link for one of the versions of Fighting is Magic I have, complete with online play, because I feel that more people should have it. And there's kind of a rule, well, it's an unofficial rule, but once it's on the internet, it's there forever, because it's almost impossible to get rid of it, because somebody will get a copy of it, they'll pass it to their friends, and so on, and so on, and so on. So even though the game officially got C&D'd, it will live on forever just because everyone has so many different variations of it. The next game I want to talk about is a Flash game that I've played on DeviantArt a lot. It's called Magic Fighting Duel. It's a pretty interesting little Flash game where you get each person gets three ponies from the main six, and you just have like a turn-based battle, and it's a lot of fun. Actually, it can be really addicting. I've played it quite a bit in the past. I should start playing it again because it actually is a really fun game. Have either of you guys played that?
Is that the one that's kind of like Worms?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Then I've played that before. Yeah, I like those kind of games sometimes, but like I haven't played it a whole lot. But I remember that. From what I remember of it, it was pretty nice because I mean it was frustrating because like actually getting the attacks to hit at first is kind of like you really have to get used to the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
But once you do, it's kind of satisfying.
Oh yeah, it's kind of satisfying and can be really, really addicting. I remember the one time that me and one of our other friends from that group, we ended up playing for like 6 hours straight without even realizing that 6 hours had passed. We were like, holy crap. Ed, what about you? Have you played it?
No, I have not even heard of that when I mentioned it tonight. I'm a little bit behind on certain things in the fandom. I've been busy with work and other things, and I'm guilty of not really playing a lot of games in general lately because I've just been like busy, and then plus I've moved away from games for a while. I mean, I'll probably get back to it eventually, but I tend to go through phases where I'll play games for a long period of time, and then I'll get burned out, and I won't touch them for months, and then I'll go back, and then so like that. But I've never played that particular one. But you said it's on DeviantArt, so I'll have to check it out sometime and see what it's all about. But that's something I'll have to add to my checkout later list, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun game. You really should check it out at some point. What about Legends of Equestria? Have you guys played much of that or tested it or?
I haven't played it, but I've seen other people play it. I mean, it's supposed to be. I guess isn't it supposed to in the end up like an MMORPG? Like it's actually supposed to. The thing is, like right now, it's nothing more than like a social simulator, and like not even a really good one. I hate to bash on it, but most of the time, people are using it to like troll other people and just to be weird. Because I mean, like, there's not that much to do in that world at the current point that they have it, which is weird because it's like. It's still sort of in that like pre-alpha stage, and it's been like I don't know 2 or 3 years since they released the first part of it, or like since they first released it. It's like, I mean, I like that they're trying, but like at the rate it's going, it seems like it's going to be one of those games where
it goes nowhere.
You know, yeah, it goes nowhere. Like it's never gonna be actually released, and by the time it actually is, it's either gonna be C&D'd or it's gonna the fandom's gonna be like gone by then.
Yeah, well,
it's like 50 years later. Legends of Equestria. Oh crap, the fandom, where'd it go?
As long as it doesn't end up being like that really awful game on PC, Big Rigs, then we're good.
Oh god.
Man, that game was a piece of junk. I don't know how that ever made it to stores, but I think that is like one of the major problems with fan-made games and stuff is a lot of them are just like people are just working on it in their free time. They're either going to college or they have like actual jobs that they have to maintain, so they don't get a lot of time to actually work on these projects as much as they would like to. So that's why I think a lot of Brony games don't really go far. I mean, others get C&D'd, others just fade into obscurity and are never heard from again. It's kind of sucks when you think about it, but That's just the way it is. Ed, do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of another game called Welcome to Ponyville, like over a year ago. It was supposed to be an awesome visual novel, with I think hints of like there might have been some elements where like in some of those visual novels from Japan, if you're familiar with that, where you can choose to court a female character, or in this case, one of the main six. That might have been one of the elements, but there were other elements like story mechanics and components in there. And it was a game that I tried out, and they released like a demo of what they called Act 1, and I played it until the end, and I was really I was really immersed in that game, and I really enjoyed it, and I was hoping it would be a full version released soon, but sadly it never happened because I believe they got C&D'd by Hasbro, and it just didn't happen. But it was one of those games that had so much potential. There was so much blood, sweat, and tears, and so much effort poured into it from the fandom. But like so many other games, it just didn't go anywhere. It got C&D'd, and it disappeared from radar, and we moved on to other things, collectively. But it was something that I really wish would have been completed because the game had a lot of potential, and it was well on its way to be a fully completed game, and a game that would be very worth the amount of time you invest in playing it. But I mean, that's just one example of that right there. But as far as the one you were talking about, it almost sounded like it was a ponified version of League of Legends. But I've heard a little bit about it, not a whole lot. I haven't played it, but what I have heard is that it's an okay, kind of just a good kind of distraction to get into once in a while, but I haven't really played it.
I've only played around with it a little bit myself. A lot of the times I have trouble getting connected to whatever server they're hosting it on or whatever. So a lot of the times it just doesn't connect for me. But from what little I did play of it, it looks like it might be an actual promising game if and when it's finished, that is, because it's got a lot of potential. It's just a question of them getting it finished. Another really good game that kind of went nowhere was the actual pony kart racing. That looked like it was going to be a really, really, really amazing game, but they just kind of gave up on it. So I don't know why, but who knows? You guys know about that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my theory on it is that they probably I don't know, they probably saw that other game. I think that was at the time that there were a lot of C&Ds in the community or something, and they probably were thinking, oh crap, we're not only ripping off Hasbro, but we're ripping off Nintendo too. So it's it's who knows? They probably were oh crap, we could get sued once, we could get sued twice, we could get who knows?
Well, technically, Nintendo doesn't own the rights to kart racing. They only own the rights to Mario Kart in general. But Mario Kart sucks these days. It really does. It's the same game over and over and over and over again, just with slightly better graphics. The maps are usually always the same. The characters almost are always the same. It's like, you've bought it once, why do it again, The next game I'm going to talk about is mature content. So just a heads up warning, mature content is coming. But the next game I'm going to talk about is Banned from Equestria Daily. Hoo boy, is that a fun game to play. What do you guys think?
The only time I've actually seen it played is when you played it over Skype. And I don't know, it looks like it's one of those adult games that's it'd be fun, but it's overly, I don't know, to me it looks like it's overly complicated. It's damn it, if you want to see them fucking, just show them fucking.
Well, they do. If you're not patient enough to sit through the game and you just want to have sex with all the ponies, because that's the main objective of the game, yes, this is a clop game. You can all sue me later. I enjoy it, but we'll get to that in a second. But they do include the less bullshit mode, which just is the sex scenes alone without playing the game. But it's no fun that way if you don't play the game, because half the fun of the game is just doing all the random crap you have to do just to sleep with the ponies. Which, again, it's hilarious because not only is it really crudely drawn and it looks like it was done with MS Paint, which just adds to the novelty of the game. But the dialogue is like broken English at times, so it's got lots of English in it. There's one part that's particularly funny. I can't remember if it's been removed or not in one of the later versions, but you click on this dirt road, and then the description says, "Wow, it's a dirt road. I couldn't think of anything else to write." I'm like, "Ooh, okay." It's just hilarious because there'll be scenes that are fully colored in, then all of a sudden you'll just get to a part that's just no color. It's just very vague outlines of where the hell you're supposed to be. You're like, what the fuck am I looking
It's
at?
like, holy shit, we've walked into Suicide Mouse. Hopefully we don't see distorted graphics.
Shockingly enough, for a Clop game, it really is an addicting game. Like, there's a whole website somewhere. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's dedicated just to the fans that play this game. And we're all looking forward to the next version where they add Celestia, Luna, Derpy, and Rarity, but it doesn't seem to ever be coming. Ed, do you have any thoughts about this game? Because I know you've played it.
I played it a few times, but nowhere near as many as you did, Flutters. And the only reason I found out about this game is because you were showing it off to me and somebody else a long time ago, like a year ago, and you used to play it all the time during our Skype calls. And I remember how you would always used to get excited when you got to the Fluttershy part. I could always tell because that was always your favorite. Of course, Twilight's part in that game seems to be kind of strange because she has some kind of strange fetish with like that spell that she's trying that let's just say really wears out the poor stallion in the game a lot faster than it would have been if it would have been a normal sex session. But I don't know. They made Twilight into some kind of weird, like almost like, I don't want to say BDSM, but they gave her like this kind of twisted personality in that game. And I'm not sure if I agree with that, but that didn't fit my headcanon. But like, you know, I played a few times, but it's not something that I played regularly. And I kind of forgot about it over time, but you know, it's an amusing game. I mean, it's obviously going to appeal to people who are, if you're not a fan of Clop, you're at least tolerant of it. If you don't like it, stay far away from that game because there are explicit scenes in there. But I mean,
very explicit.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's drawn in MS Paint style. It's nothing overly graphic. I mean, the depictions are, but the way it's done, the animation, it's like you can't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you know, like, there's scenes I remember that stick out of my mind, like the one with Applejack. It's like, okay, well, that was something. that Applejack scene, and then, oh God, Trixie. Trixie is just, she's like, oh, I don't want to have sex with you. You know, you're in my way. You annoy me. But then she totally just like goes along with it, and she tries so hard to pretend that she doesn't like it, but she obviously does. But it's like she has like this Sundara kind of behavior in the game. It's just, you know, things like that I remember. But it's been a long time since I played it. I don't really follow it. It's more something that Flutters follows because, you know, he's into that sort of thing because he's a sketchy guy. But, you know, that's I can see how it appeals to people.
I just love the fact that both of you pointed the finger right at me and said, it was Flutters that showed us. It's like, yeah, I'll take the blame. I'm guilty of showing them that. So what? I thought it was hilarious. I was just like, hey, you gotta admit, the one time I got you guys good because I didn't tell you what you were getting into. I was just like, hey, I found this really awesome game. Check it out. And then you guys got into it and you're like, what the fuck? Another good one is Three Curious Ponies. The one with Rainbow Dash, Twilight, and Fluttershy.
Oh God!
You
showed me that one too, and that was just, what am I looking at?
Oh, freaking hell! And you know what the funny thing is? The song that plays in that is actually plays like a DJ a lot.
Yeah, it's a hit. They use that song for pretty much all of their games. That's the weird thing, because they have more than just that one. They also have Adventures in Applejack or something like that, and not that I know this stuff. I'm just
No, he's just a beta tester. That's it.
Yeah,
that's his official cover story, anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Somebody's got to test the games to make sure they work. I'm like, I'll do it. That's
you get a lot more enjoyment out of it than just beta testing.
Nah, I don't use them for personal pleasure. I just play them for when I'm bored. what you do with your games and your stuff is your own business, boy. Don't be mixing me up with it. You just remember, you are the king of sketch and debauchery. We all know what's on your hard
that's
drive.
you're portraying what you that on me, but it's actually from you. So like you're trying to throw that off on me, but it's actually that's totally you. You're the one who got us into all that. You're the one who's like, oh, you gotta check out Banned from Equestria Daily. It's an awesome game. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, well, I did that more for the shock and troll value more than anything, because your guys' reaction when I showed you it was priceless, and it was worth it. Anyways, getting away from all of this Klopp stuff, because you two are seriously debaucherous. I don't even know how we even got that. I don't even know how we got onto that subject, damn you guys.
Really? I'm the cleanest, most innocent Brony in the entire fandom.
Yeah, right. Anyways, moving away from the Klopp stuff, you sick bastards. But what about mods for games? Do you guys have any like modifications for some of your games? I know that I do for my GTA San Andreas. I've got all kinds of pony modifications, and I'll be getting some more for Team Fortress 2. Well, I don't have Skyrim, but I heard there's an awful lot of mods for that too.
I don't actually have any mods for any of the games that I have, but I do know that Skyrim has a bunch of them, and I've seen a bunch of them in action. But I have been in a few TF2 matches back when Equestria Daily. I don't know if they still do this, but Equestria Daily actually has, I think, its own server on TF2, and they host certain things every week, or at least they used to. And I used to go to those things, and they have all these different mods, and I think, they play, you could go into a club where there's, no actual killing allowed. Yeah, I know that takes the point of the game away, but what they basically did was they'd play all pony music there, and you could just dance. And, I don't know, it was kind of weird, but, but, they do have, TF2 maps that are completely pony based and everything else like that, and
yeah,
there are Minecraft mods too, so
there's tons.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah, there's tons. Pretty much any game that's really famous right now has at least one or two pony mods kicking around somewhere. I know that Ed won't have much because he doesn't really have a PC that can support anything right now because he stinks.
It will be taken care of soon. I'm working as soon as I get back from BronyCon. I'm putting all money into getting a super awesome computer, but you're going to have to wait for that.
That's what she said. But anyways,
yeah, I think that what else? I think there are a bunch of games that have them, and that Starbound has, I think, mods like that, and Terraria had some of those mods at one point. And actually, there's a fun little Easter egg if you have Borderlands 2, although it's a pretty obvious Easter egg.
Yeah.
If you have the Necromancer, one of the DLC characters, all of her abilities, or most of them, are named after either MOP characters or different things. There's, I think, some of her abilities are the Stare, Evil Enchantress, Discord, what else? 20% Cooler, and the list goes on.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Someone at Gearbox definitely was a Brony when they designed, letting their Brony colors fly true when they designed that character.
Yeah. All right. So I only have one last thing for the subject, and then we'll have to call it a night. Yeah, unfortunately, we're going to have to call it an early night tonight. I apologize for that, and I also apologize for last week's cancellation, but there really is a lot of really personal things going on in my life right now that are causing these delays and cancellations and stuff. All information about it will be posted on the Flutter Brigade website as well as our Twitter, and Ed or Mond, if I'm unavailable to keep you informed, they will let you know what's up. But before we end, let's talk about old school games that have been ponified, like 8-bit and 16-bit games such as Sonic the Hedgehog and Super Mario World 2, and there's a couple others, but I couldn't get them to work for whatever reason. And then there's also Pony Man, which is the Mega Man completely like ponified. Do you guys got anything to say about those? Because have you played them, tried them, whatever?
I haven't played any of them, but I know that there would be a few that I'd be interested in, like, because I think they've ponified one of the Final Fantasies, one of the earlier ones, and I think it was Final Fantasy VI that they ponified. And actually, the people who used to do the Rainbow Dash Presents stuff, Fim Flam Philosophy, I think it is, they have a bunch of Let's Plays where they do a bunch of different games, not only just pony-related games. And they did like a whole long series about Pony Fantasy VI, which is the Final Fantasy VI ponified thing. Other than that, I know that there have been attempted parodies at like what do you call it, at like Metroid and all those different other games, but I've never seen. I don't think I've never actually played any of the 8-bit pony games, except for that one that like that the hub has, like Pony Adventure or whatever it is. Like, yeah, the one that one where you have to you get to choose all the different characters, and it's 8-bitified, but like they could have definitely made it different from that. They just did it to sort of call back to retro gaming. But I don't know. There would probably be a few that I'd want to do or want to try out, but I just haven't had the time lately.
Yeah, that plus getting some of them to work can be a bit tricky if you don't know what you're doing. Ed, have you played any of them, or do you know anything about any of them?
I haven't actually played any of them. I'm aware of a few. One of them that I'm glad you brought up the Sonic one, because I found this out through YouTube a while back, about a year or two ago. But back when I was early in the Brony fan, when I was still new to it, a lot of what drawed me in was how much kind of crossover material there was between the Sonic and MLP franchises, and that's what kind of helped like acclimate myself to ponies before I kind of got comfortable in the show, on its own merit. But one of the things I found a while back, I mean, there was this hack of Sonic 3, and they replaced Sonic with Rainbow Dash, and like it wasn't an overly amazing sprite, modified sprite, but it was convincing enough that it looked like it could be Rainbow Dash. They basically took Tails, like the two-tailed fox's sprite from Sonic 3, and replaced it with Rainbow Dash, and kind of just added the rainbow-colored, mane and tail and all that. But it had basically the same animations, movement animations that Tails had. And of course, since Tails can fly, Rainbow could also fly. But they added kind of little wing appendages instead of the tail motion. Yeah. But it's pretty cool because I could totally see Rainbow Dash being in a Sonic game like that, especially on an old retro 2D side-scroller. I mean, the one thing I regret is that they couldn't find a way to add Scootaloo as like the second player, so it would have been Rainbow Dash and Scootaloo running after. That would have been even cooler. But even then, it was still an awesome hack. I quite enjoyed it. I watched all the videos there was of the hack. I tried to look for it, but I could never actually find the game to download. But it looked like it was a really well made hack. There's also another version of that game where they made Fluttershy the main character instead. But the RD one is obviously the more popular one that I've seen more often. In regards to other stuff, like I know there were several ponified versions of Super Mario Brothers. I think there was one with Pinkie Pie in particular that was pretty popular. And even with more modern games, like in Call of Duty, they're like you can custom design your own insignias and emblems. There's quite a few people who have pony-related emblems on, or have clans on there, and they have main 6 avatars or cutie marks or other stuff that indicate their bronies playing that game. And then on Sonic Generations, the 20th anniversary game, on the PC version at least, they had a hack or a mod where you could play as any one of the main 6 during. Instead of Sonic as one of the main 6, but a 3D model, like an SFM model, and so basically that was another cool thing that I thought that was really neat that they were able to pull that off. Stuff like that. I mean, there's tons of like pony mods and hats on a variety of games, on new systems, on retro games. I mean, it's just a testament to the creative genius and just a talent of the Brony fandom. So many people in this game know how to code well, know how to mod stuff. It's not just the music and the art. There's a lot of talented coders in the community, and we're lucky to have that, because we can have games that we with our favorite pony characters that we never get officially because of licensing restrictions and all that. I would very much love to see a game, an MLP, official MLP game on a PS4 or an Xbox One or a PC where they're 3D models and they're on it like an adventure RPG game. It's never going to happen because they're not going to be able to justify that they'll sell enough, even though I think they would sell enough to make a profit. But it would not fit in with what they're trying to do and the way they're marketing the franchise to their general demographic. I would love to see it happen. It probably won't. But this is the next best thing is having all these fan-made games so we can at least get something close to that. And I'm very thankful that we have that opportunity, that we have those people in the community who can actually make something like that happen. So it's very cool, and another perk of being a Brony, being in this fandom. There's just so much to enjoy that you're always going to find something new look up that'll keep you busy. So, I mean, it's great that we have that. So definitely a lot of Pony mods out there for games. You just got to know where to look, and you'll find some pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And, like, one thing that, like, I think that Hasbro should really do, because they're missing a huge part of the market right now by not having any really good games out there. I mean, they have their cheap ones on the website. They're okay. They're fun. They're amusing, but they're nothing special. They have the official Game Loft game on Android, which is, it's alright, but it's nothing, like, special. So what Hasbro should do is they should find some of the people that are actually designing these games and give them a job and start their own, like, they should bring back Hasbro Interactive and, you know. So, anyways, that concludes this week's episode. Thank you all for joining. And again, I apologize for last week's cancellation. And all information, again, will be posted on our website at flutterbrigade.com and on our Twitter. But until then, we will see you next week, where our topic will be Season 3 as a whole. Ooh.
Oh my god.
Anyways, night everybody.
Good night.
Maps.